Start recording. And now we are currently recording. I didn't plan this far ahead. I didn't think I was gonna get here. Let's see. So I have my notes in front of me. And what we're gonna do today is we're gonna discuss SummerSlam Night 1. We can go over predictions. I'm gonna go over the history of each match. And after I go over the history with each match, then we will go over our discussions. We can have a discussion about each match, have our predictions, and see what we think will go from here. That kind of thing. Now, as we could see for Night 1, SummerSlam, we have the infamous Kane Inferno match between LA Knight and Kane for the United States Championship. Now, these two got some history, if you don't mind me reading my notes here.
Go for
it. To start out from memory here in our universe, LA Knight was squashed by The Miz initially for this United States Championship belt. That was his first match, was against The Miz. Am I frozen?
I don't think so. Are you frozen?
On my
Kind of look
screen, I am.
frozen. Yeah, you're frozen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Slight little debrief. Okay. The LA Knight's first match out here on SmackDown was against The Miz, where he had a chance at the United States Championship, and he was squashed in, I'd say, about 2 minutes. And then after that, LA Knight, on a run to, refuse being buried, decided to go against, well, he didn't really decide, let's be honest. Kane decided that he was going to have himself a match to get into that picture as well. And it just so happened that LA Knight wanted a rematch there. So the only way to do that is to compete for it. So Kane and LA Knight go ahead and they have their little match. And nonetheless, LA Knight loses to Kane. He actually lost pretty easily. Even though he did try in the beginning of the match to throw a ref at Kane. He was very desperate. LA Knight doesn't want to be buried over here on this show. But yeah, it leads to nothing. Kane wins. Kane goes on to put on one of the best matches I've ever seen against The Miz in that Inferno match. And he grabs himself this United States Championship. Now, with LA Knight trying to regain his footing, he goes in a match against Booker T. And it happens again. LA Knight cannot get his footing, and he has a rough match against Booker T. And to add insult to injury, Kane didn't feel like he was done with LA Knight. And so when Booker T beat LA Knight and LA Knight is laid out on the floor, Kane made his way down to the ring, starts whooping on LA Knight some more while he's already bloodied up and laying on the floor, and a steel cage drops around them. And end of the day, sum it up to you, LA Knight found himself in the hospital due to Kane's who knows what. It's just fucking Kane. He's came over here and he's almost gotten us off the fucking air how many times? Kane continues on to face people like Aleister Black, at Saturday night's main event, and he retains in that Inferno match. One hell of a match as well. Um, the fuck is up on my goddamn so he goes ahead and retains. It was a great match right there with Aleister Black. And about 2 weeks after that, LA Knight makes a return and attacks Kane backstage. And it was brutal. Kane laid on the floor this time. LA Knight finally having the upper hand. And the next week, LA Knight, still trying to find footing, decides that he wants to go against Seth Rollins and accept that challenge to maybe get a shot at the belt. The match doesn't go as planned, however, because LA Knight loses against Seth Rollins. Maybe he bit off more than he could chew, but he's still fighting for a belt. LA Knight loses the match, and after that match, Kane comes down again. Now, obviously, Kane, a little angry about being attacked backstage, comes out to attack LA Knight, but it was stopped dead in its tracks. Is Seth Rollins a good fucking guy? Fought off Kane for LA Knight. But
Pretty
now we
noble.
see ourselves opening SummerSlam in another familiar match between Kane and LA Knight in this Inferno match. We've seen how it played out before for LA Knight. Not for LA Knight specifically, but we've seen how these Inferno matches play out. The Miz is still hospitalized. Aleister Black hasn't shown his face again. These matches with Kane in these Inferno matches are death sentences. I don't know why we can even have these matches. Kane is almost taking us off the air each time he's had it, and LA Knight still not really able to grasp an official W. Looking to come after this championship once again against Kane in his territory.
Gotta say, for someone who hasn't won anything, he really had this title shot just drop onto his lap.
He definitely did.
Not really his voice, maybe not the way he wanted it, or against who he wants it against, but he's got a chance. How do you think he is going to handle Kane in this hellacious
I don't know if
match?
he's got a chance is the wording that I would really put out there. I haven't I mean he has gotten the upper hand over Kane, but it was out of a random attack that he blindsided Kane backstage. That's the only time LA Knight has gotten the upper hand here. If I'm being honest, my prediction is LA Knight's going back to the hospital. But this time with Burns. I don't see anybody even touching a hair on that bald head of Kane. You're not even getting a peach fuzz. Kane has been mutilating people left and right, and I'm supposed to be here and believe that LA Knight has a chance? There's no way.
Hey, 0.5% is still a percent. And to some, a chance is a chance.
But I have a question here. With Kane murdering just about anybody who steps foot to him, where does he go from here? If Kane wins this, there is no clear next direction. Who would even want to compete when they know that competing with Kane ends in a fiery blaze?
Here's the thing, though. LA Knight didn't have a choice. The next person's not going to have a choice.
You're right.
He
Kane,
decided to go
I don't
again.
even have a choice, and it's my show. It's my show, and I don't have a choice. Between me and you, man, I can't say nothing. I don't have a choice. I have to watch this go down on my show and beg and plead advertisers not to leave so we can try to keep this show running. It's stressing me out, and I'm being honest, a part of me really wants LA Knight to take this victory.
Both of us know Kane is going to leave unscathed.
One can really hope that that's the opposite of the truth. The next
LA Knight is
match.
been in the world.
But if LA Knight, you know what? We don't even have to talk about if LA Knight wins where it goes, because from there it's beginning. LA Knight can go on to do anything at that point.
He could try.
I suppose. I mean, he hasn't really done much, but if he can get his footing, there's a chance there. Now, the next match, we have Blake Monroe and Jordan Grace, and this is the last second addition to SummerSlam. Um, from my notes here, you know, if we remember, Jordan Grace was the first women's champion. Whether she's gotten that in a gracious way is, you know, up for debate. But she's definitely won that championship with questionable ways, but ultimately she lost the feud against Asuka and she dropped the championship. But with Jordan Grace trying to find her footing, she would fight against opponents like Sol Ruka, Chelsea Green, where she would win both of those matches. She would win those matches to go ahead and compete against Asuka again. You know, this is Chelsea Green or Jordan Grace is one hell of a competitor in the women's division, and she is no slouch. Again, she was once a champion, fought her way for another rematch at that championship. It didn't go as planned. But within that chase, she had a match against Chelsea Green that Blake Monroe decided to step her foot into out of nowhere. Now, of course, Jordan Grace won that match against Chelsea Green, and the interference from Blake Monroe wasn't enough to stop her. But you know, from there, I mean, in Blake Monroe, all we've really seen of her, I think we've only seen Blake Monroe one time. Let me check these notes real quick.
Check him.
Let's see. So Jordan Grace lost in her match against Asuka at Saturday night main event. That was her rematch.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next night, Blake Monroe was featured in her very first match, taking place on Evolution. And I'll be honest, she did look like a star in that match. I didn't notice many other people in that match, but out of anybody, Blake Monroe definitely did stand out. Um, but she ultimately didn't pull away with the win. Um, Having a lot of technical difficulties with a goddamn camera here. But 3 weeks after her debut, Blake Monroe took to the mic and decided to bring herself up to the stage with a mic. Um, Unhappy with how she's being booked, only being booked at one time. So she comes out and she really wants to put herself over and show the fans that, hey, someone new is here. I'm arriving. I'm taking matters into my own hands. I'm glamorous. I could do no wrong kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Jordan Grace didn't agree with that as Jordan Grace found her way down in the ring. And the two of them exchange words. Jordan Grace looking to challenge her right then and there because she still had unsettled things. But why did you come and interfere with my match?
Right.
Not too long ago. So she wanted to settle that beef, but the smart Blake Monroe decided, we're not doing that today. Let's hold off. Let's give it another night. I'll see you tomorrow at SummerSlam.
Genius move by Blake, if you ask me. Get
It
herself on the SummerSlam card, get people talking about her, and not only that, force the GM's hand at putting her on the show like she wanted. She got her way.
Blake Monroe did one hell of a job introducing herself where she wasn't being put. She felt like she wasn't being showcased, and well, she did exactly that, and she put herself out there. No better way to do it. But the problem is, she's
Who
got
she went up against
she's got one
and put
tough
her.
mountain to put her shoulder into. Jordan Grace is no slouch in this division. Jordan
For
Grace,
champion.
Jordan Grace was a champion, and she's fought her way back into another rematch, which means she's fought through most of that women's division up top and won. Blake Monroe had a good showing, but she's gonna have to show a whole lot more. she's
Yeah,
gonna have to she's gonna have to really show a whole lot more to really pull away with this win. But if she wins this on a big stage, she could be getting exactly what she wants, catapulting herself into that title division as well. Where do
yeah.
you continue?
I think that if she can win it, that should definitely put herself in a number one contender spot for that women's championship to go against whoever wins between Asuka and Raquel. Simple as that. If you could beat Jordan Grace, I think you should have a chance at the women's championship belt.
And I totally agree. Like I
And
said, I think she really put herself in a great position here.
I just don't see how you can. I don't think she could get over the Jordan Grace size hump that she put herself into trying to make a name for herself.
That
I
is
don't think
one
it,
hell of a hump, and it's a high risk, high reward kind of thing that she went out there to do. If she can win, it's a high reward. If she can lose, where does she go from there? If she loses on a big stage, it's embarrassing the way that she tried to hype herself up.
I don't know. She just might have to leave town. She just might need to leave shows. You can't go out embarrassing yourself like that.
No,
Not
not at
on some.
all. So, would that mean that you believe that this match goes to Jordan Grace?
I think this match goes to Jordan Grace. Without a shadow of a doubt. She keeps proving herself every single time, and Blake is just trying to get her foot in the door.
Now,
And
I
this door is gonna crush her foot.
I think you may be right, but I did take a safe pick when I chose Kane in the first match. But there's a part of me that wants to see Blake Monroe win this match. Do I truly believe that Blake Monroe has a chance here? Maybe not, but she did really perform in her match when I seen her. When the only match that she had, she really did perform, and she looked well above the rest of the women in that match. And there were some notable names there. I'm interested in seeing who's winning that match, but definitely look out for Blake Monroe. Don't sleep on her. Our next match, we have Randy Orton and Edge. And if we remember um, Randy Orton's past, Randy Orton's history here, Randy Orton started out in the gauntlet for that same very belt that Seth Rollins has, the World Championship. But he ultimately felt as if he's been getting robbed because in that gauntlet match, he had his hands on the rope. The ref didn't see it, and he lost and ultimately got eliminated. After
The ref
that,
was fuck on him.
after that, he faces Trick Williams one-on-one, the guy who eliminated him. They have a one-on-one. He wins to go ahead and go against Seth Rollins. In that match against Seth Rollins, who shows their face? Trick Williams. Trick Williams comes in and attacks Randy Orton with his own little vendettas, and Randy Orton again feels as if he's been robbed.
Understandably so.
And on the other side of things, we had Edge. Um, Actually, let's continue down that road with Randy Orton. Remember that he was robbed by Trick Williams, and he made a vow. He came out and made a vow to make life a living hell for Trick Williams and anybody else who associates with him. Definitely seems as if Randy Orton is just willing to go through anybody. He's pissed, and again, he feels like he's being cheated and he needs to take matters into his own hands. Now, as I was saying, on the other side of things, Edge would make his debut about 3 weeks into the show being aired. He would make his debut and go against Obafemi, who was accompanied for the first time by Trick Williams. So this was the Trick Williams and Obafemi,
Paragon.
their first time working together, and it just so happened to be that Edge debuted in that match. And he didn't have a good time, as there was a lot of antics by Trick Williams that led to Obafemi winning that match. Then time would go on. About 2 weeks later, he would take things into his own hands. Not being booked for 2 weeks, he decided, fine, I will accept the open challenge that Seth Rollins has put out. I want to be out there. I want to compete, and I want to be one of the number one guys. And so the only way to do that is to put himself out there since he wasn't being booked. He goes against Seth Rollins, in which he ultimately loses again, which is to be expected, but he wants to go out there and he wants to be seen. So the very next week is when Edge and Randy Orton finally crossed paths for the first time. They were scheduled to face each other in a match that was basically put together for the both of them to air out their grievances on the mat.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them very upset with how they're being handled or how things are playing out. And so they're supposed to go together and just take their anger out on the mat and leave it as that. Randy Orton got the upper hand, leaving Edge 0-3 at this point. And before Randy Orton makes his way out of the ring, he stops, has this little second guess, turns back, and decides to stomp on Edge while he's down and take out even more anger. Now, Randy Orton would continue to go on and do as he pledged and interfere with anything that had to do with Trick Williams. And he's been doing that successfully. But meanwhile, Edge has been laid out and he hasn't been on air for a while again due to the after attack by Randy Orton. And just last night, Edge came to me personally and asked for this match on SummerSlam with Randy Orton. He asked me if Randy Orton had anything going on. I said, no, Randy Orton ain't got nothing going on. He asked me for this match because now he feels like he has unsettled business with Randy Orton. And now here we are, looking at that third match between Edge and Randy Orton. Both of these men clearly still unhappy with the way that things are going for them. Both of them looking to be top guys in their own right and not being put in that same position, not being allowed to be there due to whatever their circumstances are. So where do you think what do you think plays out here? I I can't see this going well for like somebody's probably leaving hurt. These two have a lot of like built up anger.
Edge is going to be leaving hurt. He's got no momentum, and he's going against somebody who will do anything to win. And if he doesn't win, he'll do anything in spite of you. He's got a huge mountain to climb in Randy Orton. The only problem is this just might be a fruitless endeavor for both of them, especially Edge getting himself this match against Randy. What happens if he wins? What's next for Edge? What if he loses? That's not any better. Where does he go from here? To me, this just sounds like an awful decision by Edge to come up and try and challenge Randy Orton for a third match at SummerSlam.
It does, but it doesn't. To me, I do see where you see it's fruitless, but I think it may be in the same grounds of Blake Monroe. Um, Now Blake Monroe has her own reasons, but I think Edge here again just trying to build momentum. Now
Mm-hmm.
this may not be the best choice of action to build this momentum. Um, but again,
I
he
would agree.
wants to be seen. He wants to be seen, and Edge wants to be a top guy here. And how else do you become one than taking out the Randy Orton? If he can get this win over Randy Orton, I think that's as much momentum as you need.
Momentum for what, though?
I mean, look, if Randy Orton,
He hasn't been able to climb the ladder. If he could get over one step, maybe let's talk.
but this
But he
is the
hasn't even
step.
done that. One step doesn't put you at the top.
One step doesn't bring you to the top, but you do have to take step by step. Now, would it be better for Edge to not even look at the stairs and to just walk away? I don't think Edge wants to walk
Randy
away,
Orton,
but Edge wants to take a step, and it just so happens to be a really steep step that he is taking.
really big step where he's going to fall down and break his already broken back,
And
put himself in retirement,
but I
get
see
his
what you're
eyes gouged
saying.
out for what?
I see exactly what you're saying
Just to be on TV?
because if he loses here, I mean, if he wins or loses, Randy Orton is gonna set a nuke on anything that's near him. Randy Orton is gonna place a fucking bomb on anything near him and set that thing off. So if he wins, he has Randy Orton to see about it. And if he loses, he's in the same ring as Randy Orton, who's now feeling himself even more. It definitely doesn't seem to be going anywhere well for Edge, and I think he has a lot more thinking that he has to do. And on the other side of things, Randy Orton is probably grateful to see himself on the SummerSlam card, but I don't think this is where he wants to be either. He wants to be at the end of that card going against Seth Rollins. But at the same time, he wants to be at the end of that card to face Trick Williams. He wants to be in the mix with them, and he
Mhm.
has been in the mix with them. And so I can see that this might be a little bit of an inconvenience to Randy Orton.
I think it's an inconvenience to both of them. I think they're equally likely to win. Randy more so, but I think they're both likely to win. The only problem with them wanting to get their foot in the door and to get on top of the card is Seth Rollins is having an open challenge. And Edge already tried it, and he could not make it.
Randy Orton, on
The
the other
more
hand,
important,
Randy Orton, on the other hand, is kind of facing the same battle. I mean, if you think about it, he's had his chances at Seth Rollins, but every chance that he has been an unfair one in his eyes. And I don't see that changing.
if you ask me, this is where alliances come in. I think they're better off working together
And
to get
that's
on top than
and
to
that's a
fight.
thought that I have to think as well. Because I look at the two of them and
They got history.
and they just so happen to be in no man's land. On their own, they have no chance facing the same goal that they both have the same goal here.
Mhm.
They both have the same goal. And on their own, I don't see any way that they can get over what's going on at the end of this card here. Trick Williams has power and strength in numbers, and Seth
Mhm.
Rollins is the numbers. Seth Rollins will go against all numbers and still prevail. It will definitely be an interesting and entertaining match, but what's more interesting is where they go on from there. Next match, we have Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa. It's a triple threat tables match. Triple threat tag
Man,
tables match.
this could go to anyone with a tables match.
With the
The
tables
least
match,
likely,
this can go to anyone, as you say. Let me break down the history here. Um, Now Jimmy and Solo actually started off on Raw, and they won the belt on Raw, but were eventually traded from Raw to SmackDown for the Brothers of Destruction and were forfeited their belts. To add a little bit of context here. Now for Jay and Berto, I'll just give you the whole timeline here. The Jimmy and Solo won their belts on Raw. After that, Jay and Berto go against Otis and Sheamus, where Berto got them the win. Tala Tonga, you know, so Berto and Jay get the win against Otis and Sheamus to go
mhm.
against the Brothers of Destruction here on SmackDown at that point. They go against the Brothers of Destruction and fail. As that's happening, the very next week, the Brothers of Destruction and Jimmy and Jay end up having that trade go down, and they swap brands, which again means that Jimmy and Solo had to lose their belts in turn through that. There was a table. Now, once that trade happens, the very next tag match is Jay and Berto versus Penta and Axiom for the belts that the Brothers of Destruction had. Jimmy and Solo were not a part of the match for the belt, even though they lost their belt by having to be traded. Jay and Berto go on to win that belt in that tables match. While this is going on, we have the JC Mateo and Braun Breaker stuff starting to come together, where Braun Breaker interfered with a match for the one-on-one championship where JC Mateo was building some momentum, interfered. Ultimately, it didn't go well, but this new bond was built between JC and Braun Breaker. I don't know if it's new, because it definitely didn't seem like it was new, because it definitely seemed like they were in cahoots beforehand. After that, there's a triple threat tag match between Otis and Sheamus, Jimmy and Solo, Penta and Axiom, where Jimmy and Solo win again. Jimmy and Solo yet to lose. JC Mateo and Braun Breaker continue their feuding with the topic and actually come out on top. Axiom, or Otis and Sheamus versus Solo Sikoa happens after that. And Jay and Jimmy pull off a convincing win again. Or Jimmy and Solo pull off a win. So that is 3 wins under their belt, still undefeated. And at the end of that, Braun Breaker and JC introduced himself. Solo and Jimmy are now 3-0. They've had to forfeit their belts, and they have yet to be placed in a championship match. Meanwhile, Axiom and Penta go against Jay and Berto, where JC Mateo and Braun interfere in that match and attack Jay and Berto. Solo and Jimmy face JC Mateo and Breaker. And this is supposed to be competing, finally, for that belt that Jay and Berto have. In that match, Solo and Jimmy win again. But the way that Solo and Jimmy win was via disqualification, because, as I believe it, Jimmy gave Braun Breaker a concussion, and Braun Breaker was too stunned to even leave the ring in time, which led to a disqualification, which leads to this match now, because none of them were able to get the clear win in that match. And so now I'd imagine Jimmy and Solo are pissed, because they have yet to lose, but they are getting fucked around every single corner. Meanwhile, Jason Mateo and Braun Breaker still trying to build momentum as a team. I mean, they did take on the topic and win that feud, but they didn't have as much luck against Jimmy and Solo. I also forgot to mention that Jay and Berto interfered in that match just yesterday by attacking Jimmy and Solo. Even though they were attacked by JC Mateo and Braun Breaker the week prior, the champions came out and attacked Jimmy and Solo. So it makes me feel like Jay and Berto definitely know who the real competition is here. And that's Jimmy and Solo.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa are definitely on one hell of a run. I'm interested to see who you think even though it's a toss up because it's a table match, who do you think is going to win, and who do you think deserves this win, and who do you want to win?
Ooh, those are all three different answers right there
And I would love to hear them.
for each of them. I'll break it down first with the picks and then the answers afterwards. Who I think deserve it. Obviously, it's Jimmy and Solo. They have done everything to try and recapture their championship belts, but on a different brand because they were unfairly stripped of those belts when traded.
I completely agree.
Who I think will win is Jay and Berto, even though Berto has been doing all the heavy lifting for the past couple months.
Completely agree.
It's been a very strong team otherwise, and they have been controlling. Was it SmackDown that they're on?
Yes.
They have been controlling SmackDown since the beginning. Give or take, the Brothers of Destruction when they were there.
Once
But
they
that's
got the
another.
boot,
Once they got the boot,
Jay and Berto took reign.
but I think the wild card here and who I want to, so who I think is going to win, who I think deserves going to win, who I want to win. It's less of a want, but I think it's a wild card in the sense that JC Mateo and Braun Breaker just might win it because they've been the chaos in between all of it.
They
And
have definitely been the chaos.
how can you not think that they have a chance? They're in a tables match. The freakish strength of Braun Breaker, the invincible wall of JC Mateo. I think it's going to be very hard to put either of them through a table. But
Yeah.
yet again, there's two other teams in the match,
You
and
don't
someone's
have
going
to put them through the
to.
table. You don't have to put those big fucking strong ass dudes through a table. You just have
Not
to
at all.
avoid them enough to not get thrown through a table by them.
Right, and that's what makes them a huge wild card here. They're most likely not going through the tables.
Because Jimmy and
Unless they really
Solo,
like to throw someone through one.
and Jay and Berto, both teams have won tag tables matches already.
Hmm.
Jason Mateo and Braun Breaker yet to be a part of one. So both other teams have the experience and have won those matches. It'll definitely be interesting to see who wins this. Who I think will win, I don't honestly.
You know,
Who I think will win is Jimmy and Solo.
they got a strong chance. Very strong team
Who
right there.
I think deserves to win is Jimmy and Solo. And who I want to win is JC Mateo and Braun Breaker.
Mm.
On to our next match. We have the only Raw match of night one. The rest of night one is all SmackDown, except for this one. And it's
Before you go telling the stories, going through the history, this bitch Becky Lynch
this
is going to do whatever she
bitch,
wants.
Becky
It does not
Lynch.
matter the outcome of the match. Becky Lynch is always going to come out on top because Becky Lynch makes it so.
Becky
Ivy Nile
Lynch.
can win this match, and Becky Lynch will come out Becky two belts out of nowhere with a belt that didn't exist.
But does Becky Lynch make it so? Or does William Regal? And that's a topic for another day.
I think Becky Lynch makes it so. William Regal allows it.
And Becky Lynch, so much of a conversation starter. So much, I mean, There's reasons why she fronts head pages of magazines. There's reasons why she is named the best women's wrestler to ever do it, because you don't even have to bring it up. You already know about her. You don't
because
even
she's the
have
one
to
thing
go through
anyway.
the history. You already have an opinion.
Already got an opinion.
She's tantalizing. She is Becky Lynch. To go through a brief history, she had a feud with Stephanie Becker because through their gauntlet in their first match ever, Becky destroyed all of the competition just to lose to the last entry, which was Stephanie. Stephanie then proceeded, or Becky proceeded to bulldoze her way through that women's division right back in a position to go against Stephanie. Becky then won the match against Stephanie via countout. Therefore,
Ball-headed move.
therefore, she doesn't get the belt. I don't think anybody let her know. I think when she got home, she realized that that was a big mistake, but she still truly believed that she was the champion. She then comes out with her own makeshift championship belt and goes on to have a long-winded feud with Stephanie Becker, where she took a lot of submissions and tapped every single time. But in the end of the day, when she decided to turn the tables and prove that she was the real champion, holding an open event or holding her own match of a person of her choosing at Evolution, she planned to face Paige. Now, obviously, Stephanie Becker had other plans, took out Paige, and came in for her damn self. But in that match, Becky Lynch won fair and square. And after that, she got a cosign from William Regal that Stephanie cannot as much as move a hair on Becky's body.
Classic Becky.
And with that power and confidence that she is untouchable, she decided to continue to be the gracious champion and gracious competitor by allowing somebody in Ivy Nile, who's only competed once before in the Money in the Bank and did nothing relevant. She allowed Ivy Nile the platform to have a championship match. Where in that match, she won quite easily. And now, wanting to be a part of the SummerSlam card, she went out her gracious hand again, and she is allowing Ivy Nile a rematch at that same belt here at SummerSlam. Do we think Ivy Nile has a chance here?
I think Ivy now, even though she lost, she's still an incredible wrestler. And I think she could slip out a win, but we all know what's going on here. Becky Lynch is glad handing, patting herself on the back, standing on her own platform, her own pedestal, just so then she could look down at everybody else in her division that she made just because she can and just because William Regal allows it.
I know
We all know
exactly
what
what she's
that's
doing.
all about.
I
She's
know
gloating.
exactly.
She's going to tell everybody how she's the best in the world, even though she's picking people she knows don't have a chance at beating her.
I can see right through it. I do see it. But on the same hand, you flip your hand around, you see the other side of the story, and you do realize that she is still giving Ivy Nile a platform to compete at SummerSlam. This is
Giving her
still
what?
this is still a semi push by Stephanie or by Becky here. This is still a push by Becky in giving Ivy now the platform. But I do know that Becky is doing this because she in her heart of hearts does not believe she's gonna lose this match. And if she did, she probably wouldn't have made this happen. Now the question is, do you think that Stephanie is done? Do you think that feud with Stephanie is done? I
I think
don't
that's a
know if there's true
bad thing.
closure, but I think the William Regal cosign to not touch her definitely put that in the back burner. Like that definitely killed anything that they could have had going on.
I think Stephanie's a smart woman. I think with that arrangement that's going on, the no touch rule, I think Stephanie will be smart enough while she's champion not to touch Becky Lynch.
I do believe the same exact
It
thing.
might fizzle out. Time away just might make this feud fizzle out to where she doesn't care anymore. Because why? She's still champion.
I do believe the same exact thing. I don't think Stephanie is dumb enough to be a part of that. And what it's looking like is Becky is going to continue her winning streak and continue gloating about how great she is while she handpicks every competitor
Bottom
in
feeders.
this title
Well,
reign.
the bottom feeders of Raw.
But I don't
I
want to
think
downplay.
she might pick people out of the stands. She might pick a fan out there, all the way up in the nosebleeds to come face her. Just so then she could show everybody that those stinky, no deodorant wearing fans have no chance against Becky Lynch.
I I hate to agree with you. I just don't want to downplay Ivy Nile here, but it's hard not to. It's hard not to. I truly hope that Ivy Nile can take this and build some momentum off of it in any way that she can. Ivy Nile is still one hell of a wrestler. I just don't think that she is where she needs to be in this match to face Becky Lynch.
Well, like you said, Becky is giving her a platform to wrestle on SummerSlam nonetheless. Even it's for a fake ass belt that holds no meaning, she is still getting a match at SummerSlam. And that right there is big enough for someone like Ivy.
We have the names of Sol Ruka and like Sol Ruka's been putting on hell of matches. She's not even on the cards. We have other people. We have so many women wrestlers that are not on these cards, and Becky gave Ivy this match on this card, nonetheless. Next we
Nonetheless,
have
All-Maker, Starbreaker, Becky Lynch doing what she does best.
I'm still hopeful for an upset here. Don't know if that really means anything for Ivy, but really be hoping for that. Next we have Raquel Rodriguez versus Asuka. And these two, they have quite polar opposite upbringings. Asuka reigned terror during that battle royale for the very belt that she's holding now. Took out just about every single competitor just to be blindsided by a slimy ass Jordan Grace at that time. And after that, Asuka has been on a tear. Ever since that one loss, Asuka has been undefeated. And she's taken out every single competitor to get to that match with Jordan Grace. She then took out Jordan Grace once, then took her out again. And from there, it didn't seem like anybody wanted to step to Asuka. Meanwhile,
No,
on the other side of the world, on Raw, Raquel Rodriguez had countless opportunities at that belt that Stephanie has. But she lost every single one of them. And not only just lost them, she was the one taking pins. She was the one with the embarrassing elimination times. She was the one. It was embarrassing. She had countless matches at the top over there that led to absolutely nothing. She found her way in a Hell in a Cell match, a 6-woman Hell in a Cell match, with some very notable names on Evolution. And she actually won that match. And after her very first win, she decided she still wants that main event championship belt. And if she couldn't get it on Raw, she decided to transfer to SmackDown and instantly call out Asuka, who did not appear. She calls out Asuka, and Asuka didn't take it serious and did not even show up. The next week, Raquel has a match against Sol Ruka. And in that match against Sol Ruka, Asuka's music plays mid-match, which obviously took the attention of Raquel, who had just prior called her out. Now, Asuka's music played, but again, no Asuka. Raquel was distracted in the moment, but she carried that win from Hell in a Cell over and defeated Sol Ruka. And after that, by the end of the night, I was approached by Asuka, and Asuka said, green light. Asuka gave me the green light and accepted Raquel's call out, and here we are today.
gracious champion.
Gracious champion, or one hell of a fucking threat that nobody wants to face, and just taking what's out there. Now the question is, why didn't she show up?
I think Asuka thinks Raquel is completely beneath her. She's seen the work that Raquel was doing over on Raw, and she wasn't impressed. Not in the slightest. She didn't care. She comes over to SmackDown. Why should she care? She did not. The
I
only
feel the
reason
same
why
way.
she came to you to greenlight that match is to embarrass her further here on SummerSlam.
I'll definitely be interested on knowing what's the intent there, because you could only read into it. I mean, she didn't show up to the call out. You could just assume that she just did not take Raquel serious. And I believe that the music playing, the entrance music playing with
Had
no
nothing to do
Asuka
with it.
appearance, I believe that may have been a heads up to Raquel that, hey, I'm watching. If that's how I'm reading into it, it definitely seemed like a, Raquel, you called me out. Here's a reminder that I'm watching you now. If you want to call me out, I'm watching you. What are you going to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
Raquel ended up pulling out the win. And so I think Asuka, in turn, green-lighted the match. Now, Raquel is one big woman.
She is.
And in that match with Sol Ruka, you couldn't tell me who was the athletic one. I'm being honest. Raquel spent a lot of that match running around, jumping off top ropes. And then she paired that with her power, and I think that newfound confidence that she had in that Hell in a Cell match, she looks like a completely different Raquel Rodriguez over here on SmackDown in that one match and in that match on Evolution than she had in the other matches before. So maybe she understands it now. Or maybe this is all just
A hoax.
lightning in a bottle.
Luke. Don't get me wrong. I'm a fan of Raquel. I'm a fan of her work. But is she ready for Asuka?
I don't believe
No.
anybody is ready for Asuka. There
Asuka
is.
stands on the Mount Rushmore of women's wrestling. She is number 2 right underneath Io of best women's wrestlers to ever step in the ring. And then I just have to ask Raquel again. Are you ready for Asuka?
I don't know if she is, because if you look over at the left of this card, you'll see a very muscular woman as well in the name of Jordan Grace,
Who she
who
put belt
also
at.
couldn't get over, who in singles matches is 0-2 against Asuka. Strength means nothing when you're going against somebody with the likes of Asuka. And so Raquel may have bitten off more than she could chew, and it's looking like she's running out of options here. If Raquel doesn't win here, what else is there? Where else is there to go? She's tried the top.
On the board.
I mean, luckily she's at the top. Luckily she started up here, so if she falls, she has more levels to hit. But as far as the main event scene, if she can't pull off a win and get this belt, she's not in the main event scene. She is not going to be getting any chances at those titles. She's already had way too many. And I believe this is her last. I don't see a world where she wins this.
Damn, are you saying that she just needs to stick to the tag division? She just can't cut it?
We have yet to see. She's 2-0 in her last 2 matches, and I guess you're only as good as your last match. But
You could say that.
it's not looking too good for her. And so she might have to really rethink where she's going to go from here if she wants to continue to even get any screen time.
Either
Because
way,
we have likes of Rhea Ripley, who, I mean, Raquel was on the same page. Raquel was in just about all the same matches. She just so happened to get that match at Hell in a Cell and win it, where Rhea Ripley lost it. The stories could have been flipped here, but nonetheless, there's people like Rhea Ripley who are not on this card and who
mhm,
haven't been seen for a while. But of course, all it takes is one win, and she's gotten that. And then she went ahead and did it again. So all it takes is one win. Who
I could
knows?
say the real winners here are the fans out there watching because they're going to put on a hell of a match, and I can't wait to watch it.
I definitely do believe that is going to be one hell of a match, and I am very excited to see every single card on this match.
Same here.
Now, before we go on to the Trick Williams versus Seth Rollins match, I do want to bring up one thing. Do you think that we're going to see any cash-ins at SummerSlam here?
I didn't even think about it.
I just thought about that now. Do
I
you
didn't even
think that we will see any cash-ins? Montez Ford has the Money in the Bank briefcase, but he has a match on night 2 against Shelton Benjamin. I don't imagine he'll want to cost himself in any ways in the big light when he has a match within these cards. And if we're looking at who he could cash in on, we're looking at Kane, Seth Rollins. Let me um Kane, Seth Rollins, Logan Paul, and Umaga.
I can tell you one thing. Out of all those people, I wouldn't want to cash in on Kane.
I don't know if he wants to cash in on Kane. You have to remember that Montez Ford was previously an Intercontinental Champion.
Mm-hmm.
He had already gotten that mid-card belt once before, not too long ago. I think he wants to set his sights a little bit higher than that, but the problem is, if you're setting your sights higher, then it's Seth Rollins, and if you go against Seth, I don't even see a world where you're even beating Seth even after he loses a match. And Seth is probably still gonna get up and win that bitch.
Yeah. Like it's an iron.
Seth is still gonna get up after a whole fucking match. He has really been setting a standard that he's living by the word that he promised. And not only that, I don't think as Montez Ford that I want to be a part of this, a part of that division. I don't think that's a step that you want to take. You might want to, if you want to go there on SmackDown, you might want to wait till things fizzle out because you got a lot of big dudes and
Yeah.
there's a lot of turmoil up there at the top. And Seth so happens to be the only Iron Man who could take on all of it. But on the other hand, William Regal is alongside Umaga, and William Regal is damn near the reason why Montez has that briefcase in the first place.
Fair
So
point.
I don't see a Montez Ford cash in here at SummerSlam, but I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm. Could be wrong. He just better hope that Gunther doesn't come out of his unlimited paid time off, his vacation back to Austria, and start putting belt to ass on Montez for stealing his money in the bank from him.
And honestly, you have a good point because I haven't even thought about Gunther.
Because he's been gone so long.
He's
Thinking
been
he's walk
gone
off
for
and
so
not do it.
long that Gunther has been out of sight, out of mind. I was
And
under
even the foil that Montez has to, be aware of when cashing in his belt on any of them.
I was under the impression at this point that Gunther just quit. Without putting in a notice, he just quit. He's just out. But you have a good point. And I think if you are Montez, that is in the back of your head. I have to cash this in at a reasonable amount of time because there is no telling if Gunther is going to make a return.
Mm-hmm.
And with no Gunther in sight, SummerSlam might be where Montez has to take advantage because you don't know when Gunther is going to make a return
Yeah, no telling. He's got
and
to
make
go
it
ahead and
difficult.
on every door in the stadium. He needs to go look in every single storage room. He needs to look inside of every single fridge. He needs to kick down every stall door in the bathroom to make sure Gunther's not there to ruin his plans.
But there are two. I mean, there's two cases in it. Like, there's two case scenarios where Montez can cash in. You have to remember that Umaga is facing Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu in a triple threat match. It's not a title match, but Umaga will
Mhm.
damn sure be fucking exhausted at the end of that. Umaga will damn sure
Yeah.
be exhausted at the end of that, and there is no better time to go in for it than that. And there's also a chance where if Trick Williams beats Seth Rollins on night
That's an easy
one,
target. Hate to say it.
huh?
I hate to say it, but that just might be an easier target.
Exactly. Trick Williams, that'll be one of his only wins. And so you might just have a better chance dethroning Trick Williams immediately. And then trying to hold your own there. On the other end, we have Chelsea Green.
It's true.
Chelsea Green has made her fair share of appearances when Jordan Grace was a champion and
Mhm.
when Asuka's been a champion. Chelsea Green has had her fair share of pop-ups.
I think Chelsea Green has a stronger chance of showing up at SummerSlam than Montez does at cashing in.
Chelsea Green has no match here. And Chelsea Green just recently brought in a bodyguard in Zarya. Chelsea Green has no match here. Chelsea Green could very well cash in at some point. If I was to place my bet, I'd probably give that one to Chelsea Green. If there are any cash-ins here on SummerSlam. Now, lastly, we have what everybody's been waiting for: Trick Williams versus Seth Rollins. Trick Williams hasn't fought since some of the very first weeks of this entire show. He has not competed in a match. And he is now. Now, of course, the backstory here is Trick Williams is the one who kind of laid out the platter for Seth Rollins to win that match. Trick Williams really did a lot of that dirty work during that gauntlet that led to Seth Rollins coming away with a victory over him. He did all the dirty work. He was exhausted. Seth comes in, took it. After that, Trick Williams loses to Randy Orton to compete to go against Seth. Trick unhappy with that. Says, fuck that. Randy Orton, I'm interfering. I'm attacking you because I want Seth. You're not getting him. I want Seth. Sorry to tell you. And after that, we start seeing a different side of things. We start seeing Trick Williams alongside Obafemi. And there's questions of what is Trick Williams planning? What is he doing? I mean, Obafemi was in the same match as Trick and Seth. And Obafemi didn't do too well. So Obafemi in the same grounds where, he needed to find his footing. Trick needed to find his footing. Then eventually you see Obafemi being a part of a Kit Wilson match in his debut. And you start to see things trying to come together, and you start to see names repetitively showing up. And during this time, it's nothing but just constant, like, you're getting hella interferences. Oba's interfering with Kit's matches. Trick is interfering with Oba matches. Oba, Trick is interfering with Seth Rollins matches. It's just interference after interference. They're just numbers. Really trying to put themselves out there. But on one end, Seth Rollins has continued to set the standard, and he is undefeated. He's undefeated. No matter what numbers are thrown at him, he wins. No matter how many odds are stacked against him, he still wins. And lately, the topic has been on a little bit of a slump. I mean, Oba lost against Seth. Kit, who was their hope in everything as the one-on-one champion, lost against Ilya. Then they went on to lose against JC and Braun Breaker. So a part of me is thinking that Trick Williams sending Obafemi out to call out Seth Rollins for SummerSlam is a little bit of desperateness.
Sounds like it to me.
It sounds like Trick Williams is getting a little desperate because he's seeing his plan starting to foil. Now, Jada Parker has still been holding her own on her side of the division there. She is still holding her own and dominating as he intends. But as far as the other guys, it's not looking too well. To the point that Trick Williams is getting desperate and he had to throw himself and challenge Seth Rollins and throw himself into the mix and finally have to compete. With this slump and with everything looking like it's starting to go downhill a little bit, Trick Williams is now pulling at straws and seems like he's really desperate and just needs this match to go well. But again, Seth Rollins is undefeated. How do we even tackle this? What do you think is going to go down here? Do you think Trick Williams can climb the mountain that nobody else has, even though Trick Williams hasn't performed yet?
Not on his own. He is not going to be able to conquer the mountain that is Seth Rollins on his own. He's going to need numbers. He's going to need the topic behind him, every single one of them, to even edge out a win against Seth Rollins. But since their luck has been so low so far, I don't see it happening unless the number games prevail. Distracting the referee, everyone triple teaming, quadruple teaming Seth Rollins while the ref is distracted or down. I think that's the only way to get a real advantage on Seth Rollins.
Yeah, not just for Trick Williams. I think that goes for anybody when you're facing Seth Rollins. It's going to take a team more than one person because it's proven week after week, month after month. Seth Rollins is competing every week and he is yet to lose. It's going to take numbers. And I think you can definitely expect numbers here. If Trick Williams is going to get away with the win here, he has to bring in numbers. There has to be shenanigans like they've been doing for weeks now. Interferences. There has to be interferences. And yeah, they have to outnumber Seth. That is probably the only way you're going to actually compete against Seth here.
Definitely. Got to get into Seth's head. Got to make sure he feels like he's unsafe.
Do we think that we're going to see numbers on the other end, though? We've had Randy Orton successfully basically be the reason for this downhill climb. Like, I mean, there's a reason why they're going downhill, and that is because they pissed off Randy Orton. Randy Orton has dipped his fucking toes in every single one of these fucking fights. And is basically the reason why most of these matches have went out how they went. He is the reason why they're on a cold streak, in part. Do we think Randy Orton is going to continue with his vow to make anything Trick Williams living hell?
I think Randy's got his plate full tonight. Whether he wins or loses, he's going to have a hell of a night. He's going to have a long night ahead of him before the main event happens. I don't think he's going to show up. I don't think anyone else is going to show up. And why help Seth? Why help Seth for Randy?
I don't think it
Even
would
if
be so much as helping Seth. I think he just has that much anger towards Trick. I mean, Trick is the reason why he doesn't have the belt. Why would he allow Trick to fairly go for that?
If I was Orton, I would help Trick win. I would continue giving him more numbers to take down the mountain of Seth Rollins.
And I think you have a good point.
Your chance to go against the person he wants to go against.
I think you have a good point. I think Randy Orton has a million things to think about tonight, and I don't think interfering is something that he needs to be thinking about. And if he is, it's not going to be against Trick Williams. I think you're right. But there is
Because
no
I
telling
think
with the Viper.
there is no telling. And that is true.
There's no telling what's going on inside that head. But I definitely do think that this Trick Williams match is going to include a lot of shenanigans if Trick Williams wants to win. Because Seth is, again, one hell of a mountain climb.
Yeah.
And nobody's summited that thing. Nobody's reached the top.
Yeah, because the biggest word that you used is if. If he wants a chance at winning.
I didn't think that I would see Trick Williams competing, if I'm being honest. And so maybe this is a different, more desperate version of Trick Williams. But I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, the last time that they had a match scheduled was that Saturday night main event. And Trick just sent through Maga. Trick has been so opposed to competing, so now he's so desperate that he is. And I don't think this is a good time for Trick to be going after it. While Seth is at his highest and he's at his lowest.
Mm-hmm. And the real question is, how long is Trick Williams going to last in this match against Seth Rollins before he eats his own teeth?
That is a good question. Seth Rollins, though, however, anything, if we're being honest, when he's faced anybody with the likes of Trick Williams or Obafemi or anything like that, it's light work. He gets the upper hand like that and he calls it raps right then and fucking there. He takes them
Mm-hmm.
seriously or they're just not in his league.
Yeah. No one's in his league.
Either they're so far out of his league or he leans in and he takes them seriously. But most matches for Seth see him taking a lot of bumps early on and then finally figuring it out in the end. And I mean, those matches with Trick Williams, he does compete really well. He did compete very well in every single match, which is why he felt he had to do something because he was just always right there.
Yeah.
And so, but I just don't know if now is the time to close that gap. I don't know if throughout this time he was right there before, but I think throughout this time that gap may have gotten a little bit bigger, and anything that he would have done to try to close it is just a negative effect. You know, it's all equaling itself out.
Yeah. But yet again, if you got the chance, you might as well take the chance. Because who
On a
knows when the
big
chance is
stage at
gonna
SummerSlam.
come.
Who knows? And there's no telling who's ever gonna beat Seth Rollins here. I hate to be, I do have to be optimistic for Trick Williams. Trust me, I will. I'm on his side here, but I just don't see it happening.
And
It's
that's
hard to
where
be optimistic.
I'm likely to agree with you. Unless the number games prevail. But that's a
Unless the number
strong
games prevail. But that's SummerSlam night one. What match are you most excited for? What matches are you most excited for? Which matches do you think would have the most amount of shenanigans? I mean, what are you thinking here?
Oh man, without a doubt, there are a few matches I'm looking forward to. Kane versus LA Knight. I just know that's going to be hell on earth.
No
I
no shenanigans
no,
needed.
no shenanigans needed. I just know Kane. He's just gonna be torturing LA Knight.
He's a big red machine. He is a fucking monster amongst
I
men.
enjoyed his previous matches. I just gotta say, I like what I've been seeing. I want to continue to see it. So I'm looking forward to that match. I'm looking forward to Becky versus Ivy. I'm looking forward to an upset there. And also, I want to see Raquel versus Asuka. I want to see if Raquel actually has what it takes to even stand a chance against Asuka, because Asuka, she's on top of the mountain, and it's not hard to see why.
Now I have a reason to be excited about every match, of course.
Of
I
course.
mean, with Kane and LA Knight, the excitement makes itself. Kane has put on by far the best matches out of anybody so far. Kane has been putting on all of the best matches, and I mean, it's the writing's on the wall. Kane is going to put on one hell of a match, and that's a great way to open the show. I mean, here with Blake Monroe and Jordan Grace, I'm excited to see if Blake Monroe can make a new star out of herself. I'm excited to see if Blake Monroe can enter her name a part of all of the rest of the women at the top. You know, I'm excited to see if she can enter her name in there. Um, and Jordan Grace, excited to see if if she could continue her run as well. I mean, the only person she has lost to is Asuka, for
Mhm.
being honest. I mean Jordan Grace is one hell of a fucking wrestler. With Edge and
Yeah.
Randy Orton, I mean, they're bound to put on a good show, regardless of what the outcome is supposed to mean, and regardless of what it is. I mean, the storyline is more than what's here in this match. I think these are two directionless dudes who have a lot of anger built up, and that has to be a good match.
Yeah.
And in this tag team match, I mean, yeah, I want to see who's gonna walk away with this win. There's an opinion to be had about every single one of them
Yeah.
in this match. Who deserves it, who you want, and who will. Like it all differentiates, but they all can be chosen for each one. And at a certain point, you want Becky to be silenced.
That's not happening.
It's most likely not happening, but at a certain point, you would love to see Becky get silenced by Ivy now, and Ivy now really used his platform. And yeah, I'm excited to see what Asuka does with somebody as large of a stature as Raquel Rodriguez, who's been proven to have quite the amount of athleticism here and a part of her skill set as of late.
Yeah.
She's been showing off a lot of athleticism and willing to do daring things. So I'm excited to see a desperate Raquel go against a dominant Asuka.
Yeah, she's gonna be looking forward to a lumberjack and Asuka. Who's gonna be
And
chopping that tree down?
and for the end of the night, I'm ready to see what tricks are up his sleeve.
Uh, I see what you did there. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the SummerSlam Night 1 card. Um, a lot to be discussed, and I guess we'll see how it plays out. And if I'm being straightforward, I'm about to see how it plays out.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you to my lovely co-host here for joining me and having this discussion for the
Thank you for having me.
SummerSlam Night 1 card. And yeah, thank you for being a part of this universe here.
Glad to be a part of it.